Hello and welcome to the Townhead podcast. Well, it looks like it's title out in Tallaght tonight as Gaffney and Green run riot really to grab all points for Shamrock Rover. To discuss this tonight, there's only two lads willing to do this, and that's myself and Donal. Donal, how are you?
Oh, I'm all right, I guess.
Yeah. Look, Donal, I think it's a bit of a back down to earth moment there tonight, especially with the result. Probably not as much as the performance, but definitely the result is a real back down to earth for us, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, it's unfortunate. It was a pretty decent performance for 2/3 of the pitch. Just in our own final third, we just didn't play well at all. Conceded the same goal 3 times.
It's quite a feat.
But yeah, it was actually pretty incredible. I don't know how often I've seen that, but no, look, it's. I think there's a couple of things it highlights. It obviously highlights the squad, the depth in the squad.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody in the league is going to be able to manage as many injuries and suspensions as we have clocked up now over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, Rovers will be whinging that they were missing players as well, but they're in a far better spot having built their squad over a few seasons. Like for the one season that we've got this squad together, we're missing, what did we count? Seven players in around the starting 11 tonight. Not counting traders that left and went to Derry halfway through the season. But yeah, it was a little bit of not a rude awakening, but just a little bit of, like you said, just coming back down to earth a wee bit. It's like we'll obviously go through the game and all, but it does leave a horrible feeling just to have lost. That's there.
It. Yes,
and there's positives to take. There's positives for the whole season and all that kind of stuff, and all of the massive positives that we've been talking about all year long. But it just feels like it was just a horrible night to have that sort of
crash course.
Yeah, like yeah. Like you were probably the same as me. You were pretty confident enough for like 15-20 minutes that they were playing well, and then sucker punch.
I think it's one of those things, Donald, as well. Do you know when you're waiting all weekend for the game, and it's not like it was even an early kickoff today. Like I was doing stuff with the family, and I was still at the back of the mind going, "Oh, I can't wait for the game later on." Yeah. And then you just wait all day, and then when you get a result like that, you're like, "Oh, what a waste! Yeah. What a waste!"
Because it was I was watching Newcastle and Man City earlier, and it was an absolutely amazing game. But I watched the first half of it thinking, Newcastle are playing with an incredibly high line. If somebody plays the ball over the top, Haaland's just going to run onto it, and they're going to be in serious trouble. They didn't do it, but I'm like, that's a risky system to play.
Yeah.
I hope nobody tries that later on.
Look, it's a Sunday night, a little bit break from our Friday. So I'll actually give you an option right now, Donald. Do you want to do a man of the match competition, or do you want just a quote in for tonight on the performance? I think
we'll just do a
quote tonight. Okay, so for our Tony's Pizzeria pizza, if anyone wants to comment in with what they thought of the match tonight, is probably the best way to put it. We'll pick the best ones from that. Not that I don't think there's good performances. I actually think there was plenty of good performances, but I think if you just look at the result in isolation, the good crowd that was there and everything else, I think let's just do that rather than singling in for anything in particular. So best description wins the pizza competition tonight. I'm glad I had that sitting ready. So like we have this planned, Donald.
I was just going to say, we probably should have thought about this beforehand.
Yeah, I only realized I clicked we had gone live and I went, I don't know what we're going to do with that competition. Donald, look, at the tail end of last week, we talked about, replacements that's going to be needed from the Bulls match for tonight. Two in particular we were thinking about was no Patrick Cuban and obviously Andy Boyle being suspended. It's as we thought, with Martin coming in and then Robbie McCourt sitting in the back line. I suppose that was to be expected. Robbie Benson coming in though and captaining for the night was a little bit left field for me.
Yeah, because we were saying that before, that we were talking about who's going to be captain next week with Ruben and Boyle missing, and I don't think anybody picked Benson to be captain.
No.
And then even talking during the week, I was saying that you could kind of pick a midfield from the players that are left. Like, you can pretty much pick what the strongest midfield would be, and he would have been in it. And I don't know why we never thought, like, there's the most obvious pick for captain, But yeah, I was a bit surprised. Like, so when we would have called like that, those are players that were going to come in. I think John Martin earned his spot on the team from the performances that he's had, and I think he was. It was a typical John Martin performance tonight. There was he never stopped running, never gave up and stuff. Was hassling the three Rover centre backs, which is, I think, probably something he wouldn't have been used to, or wouldn't have been not prepared. But it's a tough ask to play against three centre backs, like as
a single striker up there on your own.
Yeah, and as the three boys are pretty experienced and know. Well, two of them are clowns, and the other one's half decent, but they at least know how to play the position.
Yeah.
But that was a tough ask for him. Robbie McCourt obviously was. He had one of the debuts that'll not live in infamy because he didn't score an own goal or get sent off. But the vision of him trying to bring down Gaffney and then getting injured, like it wasn't the best of first appearances. What I thought was interesting though was we played Stephen Bradley in the middle instead of Robbie Benson.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all would have assumed Bradley one side, Ryan O'Kane the other side, and Bob Benson in the middle. But swapped it out, which I don't know what the thinking was, but
Skip's done this to us before, of course, in Tallaght, when we were wondering who might play our front here, and then all of a sudden Daniel Kelly was playing up top last time we had a defeat there. So we really shouldn't be that surprised that when we go to Tallaght Stadium, we throw a fly into the ointment and try something different. Look, we might as well start this therapy session. Let's go. Goal one. Like you say, we settled into this game quite well. Like we'll have a look back later on through some of the stats of the game, but like throughout it all, we were playing pretty well. We were on top. We seemed to be the team really probing and trying to get in at the defense at Shamrock Rovers, but a real sucker punch for goal one, and a long ball from Daniel Cleary up to Gaffney, who just had acres of space down that side. And when the ball got cut back across to Aaron Green, I saw him take a touch and I went, oh, that can't be the right thing to do. You've got Robbie McCourt, who was on his arse, got back up, I think at that stage, trying to get back into the box. We had I'm trying to think who slid across in the first.
I think it was Alfie Lewis.
Yeah, Alfie Lewis slid across trying to block a potential shot from Gaffney, who just squares it back. And I thought, Aaron Green, maybe he'll take an extra touch here that he shouldn't have, and we'll get on it. Unfortunately, not composed enough finish from a long ball out from when we're pressing and look like we're the one that's going to get an opener. For a long ball to come down, like I said, a high line, we're caught out, of course, the wrong side. Then you try attempt, like you say, to bring him down. That's unsuccessful. He obviously injures himself there. To go back and have so much time for Green in the box, it's a horrendous goal to concede, isn't it?
Yeah, it reminded me of the start of the season, the first couple of games. We got caught like that a couple of times at Derry. I think they scored one and had a couple of other chances like that. And
McGonigal was running riot, if I remember. He had so much space.
Yeah, and it looked tonight like the first one in particular. Sam Bone has gone about 30 yards up the field to try and either get in front of Gaffney or win the ball high up the pitch. And once that's past him and McCourt has to come over, there's just an absolute ocean of space in there for somebody to run into, which is where Green was. And I think it's interesting to look at. So correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like we've played that sort of high line all season. I mean, we got caught last week. Andy Boyle wasn't playing tonight because he got caught on his own, really, really high up the pitch, one-on-one with a striker. I think tonight Rovers playing 2 strikers really, really threw us, because when you're playing a high line against one attacker, there's a covering centre back and there's not 2 players making a run like off a long ball. And when Rovers played one of their 500 long balls, like their only game plan was just, we're just going to punt this as far as we can and get the Gallop and Gaffney after it, like that was their plan. And I think when we've played against that before, we've been fine. Like one central defender covers the other central defender, and we've gotten in trouble the odd time. But once the communication was there, once the understanding was there between the defenders of who was covering who, and we saw that with Boyle and the other chap, when they were playing all those games together, that there was an understanding of like neither of them were quick.
Yeah, I think that's kind of Patsy's point here as well then, wasn't it? It's madness to play such a high defence when centre-backs have no pace, and the forwards, Rovers forwards have bags of it. And it's, how many times did we see Shepherd, having to come out and head it, and he was playing that sweeper role again, for over and over again. And luckily now, he has the pace to kind of get out there, and he is quick off the line. Earlier in the season, we probably didn't see that from Nathan Shepherd, but he, it bailed us out tonight. And I think just Darmeen in there, and another one then, just McCourt's lack of time probably exposed him there today. And I think that's it. I think he's probably bang on there. He hasn't played enough games. And in particular, like you just said there, our system that we probably played all year long, with a pairing, a centre-back pairing who kind of had an understanding. Connie was probably the deeper of the two with less pace about him, and Boyle had more. Now we're going into a match now with neither of those pairings anymore, and that's probably really obvious now to us. And we don't know the extent of that injury. And straight away, when I seen Robbie McCourt go back down again, I thought, oh wait, haven't we got 2 keepers on our bench? I'm pretty sure I haven't seen a defender.
Yeah,
that got me worried.
Yeah, and like you're looking ahead to next week, and like we have a tough game with the cup next week, and you're like, Boiler will be back, obviously, so we go back to Boyle and Bone, but just getting very, 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 very.
But then you're risking again. You can have an injury to either of those 2 centre backs.
Because I'm not sure obviously we're not sure what McCourt's injury was, but it didn't look like a great one. I don't know if it was something in his foot or like if it was just the bottom of his ankle. I'm not sure which it was, but he got a proper examination, and then obviously it was bad enough that he had to go off. So you're always worried about the ones that the boys can't play through. You know, so it's probably not good news. But and
Gartland doesn't look like he's anywhere near the team at the moment. Like he's not on bench or anything like that. You would have thought if he was even nearly on his way back, you could have put him on the bench there tonight, because we look thin on numbers on the bench, but that's clearly nowhere near coming back at the moment either.
I'm surprised they didn't bring Mountney on and move.
Warley was a strange one. Obviously, dropped Benson back for a while then.
Yeah, Benson went from the right wing to left back, which everybody would have predicted before the game started. But no, like it was that sort of organization then is how you get caught out with a straight ball over the top. So this organization and going a goal behind was just playing into their hands, that they didn't have to do anything. Like we were looking at the stats beforehand. They didn't even have to put passes together. All they had to do was they had their back 5, their couple of holding midfielders, your man with the hair running around.
We're getting there to it. We're getting there to him.
Yeah, I know. I thought about it before the game that I don't think he'd scored in the game against us, but there you go. But yeah, so like we just played into their hands. Like they were happy to let us have the ball. They're happy to let us probe and get crosses in. Probably knowing, without the main man up top, we were less likely to score a goal tonight.
Yeah.
Having said that, now Alan Manus had to make a couple of good saves before the end of the first half, and then had to make a string of great saves in the second half to keep us out.
Yeah.
But it just played into their hands, like the old kick and rush stuff, just belting the ball as far as they can and running after it.
The only thing I will say is because, and you've just mentioned it there, because Rovers did sit back and allow us to play, it actually ended up being the perfect sort of a game for Wardy, who loves to get on the ball and start picking. And, we're going to have to talk about him now in a second. But, Wardy puts in this ball into Martin, which, him and Cleary come together, and Cleary goes down like a sack of spuds, and Martin continues on, puts it in the net. The ref brings it back for a very, very soft foul. And initially, I think even Graham Garland on commentary was like, did he put his hand on him? Or it seemed very soft. But
it did. It was hard to see.
Another one of those swings, though, isn't it? Yeah. It's a swing of a pendulum. And it's for, we don't get the rub of that. And then straight from that free kick, it's just another long ball. And down, we're caught flat again at the back. And another ball just across the box. And there he is to tap it in, Richie Towell, and then straight to us away fans then as well. I just thought, these are the things I don't need of a Sunday night. I really don't.
It would have been nice.
I'm trying to work tomorrow already. I don't need Richie Towell scoring and celebrating in front of us. No.
It would have been the absolute perfect time for just a gigantic pause now of just everybody turning their back on him and just feeling like we don't give a shit about you anymore.
Yeah.
But no, look, it was a typical Towell performance that he's just there and at the right time to knock one in, and he's able to chase people down. He was a big, tough man tackling Ryan O'Kane a couple of times there in the game because he's twice the size of him. But look, the whole game was set up for their attacking players to shine, like for him to make late runs and for the two boys to just do what they did. So it was absolutely just disgusting. But
but it's heartbreak because they're similar goals every time that we're in possession. We're the one probing, and it's just like you say. The first goal is a long punt down by Cleary. Here's another long punt from a free kick. We've got to get ourselves organised. We've got to get ourselves better. We have this line straight. We should be seeing where these two attackers are. And in particular, when they've got a free kick so high up the pitch, we should be looking across the line and seeing, are we playing this or not? And if we're not, we'll go deeper and we know where everybody is. And they play in front of us and bring the ball into us, except it's a diagonal ball and there's acres of space in behind us again. We're going to talk about this over and over again tonight, and it's just heartbreaking because we after the injuries and everything, we're getting back in. I felt again, or after McCourt's injury, should I say? We get Wardy on the ball, and he's kind of probing around, and we're looking for it. And even after Richie's goal, like you say, Martin's unlucky with an attempt at the near post that saved, and there's one or two others bouncing around. I think Lewis was lucky with another one then as well, and really could have come out of at halftime maybe 2-1 down, and I don't think that would have been unfair. Even if you just take in isolation, just the last 5 minutes, we were all over them and probing, but there was just no luck tonight.
No, I think that obviously the goals are the goals, but the biggest moment I thought in the match was Wardy's free kick in the second half. That I don't know if Manus saved that or hit the post. I thought
it hit the post. In real time, I thought it hit the post. But apparently it was a save.
Yeah, and I saw some of the Rovers lads turn around and applaud him. So maybe he did. But either way, if that went in and we have about half an hour left to go and get a second goal and you get the momentum with you, and then suddenly the European game comes back to haunt them a wee bit, to get a little bit tired. But it just wasn't to be. And then, pretty much straight from that, then we go and concede another one. And it's the same sort of just, I don't even know if it's a lack of communication. I'm not entirely sure what causes it, but it was like the first goal came up the left-hand side. The second one came right down the middle, and this one seemed to come down the left. So it was like the whole way across the back line. But our back four changed, I think, 3 times tonight.
Yeah,
and I think they just weren't able to get organized enough to deal with those balls over the top like that.
I think it's one of those things, you know, if you're a defender and you step in to get the ball, you know, Paul McGrath made an absolute career out of doing it, of just timing it to perfection. You know, I think Paolo Maldini used to say, you know, if he slide tackle him for a ball, he's already lost because I should be able to read this game better and pick it up before I have to slide tackle. You know, and we seem to lean in to go and play the ball early and get on the foot, but we lost, you know, the run of the ball, and suddenly it's past us. The momentum before you can turn back and run after your man again, you're 5 yards behind and you're not going to catch it. And then it's another ball cut across the face of goal. I felt really bad for Nathan Shepherd tonight because, you know, it's the same goal over and over again that he's conceded, and yet he's done nothing wrong tonight.
Yeah. And he's had more touches of the ball, let's say, than he's almost ever had, but actually having to make a save. The amount of times he had to
probably more outside of his box.
Yeah.
Than he had in it at times tonight.
Yeah, it was just the exact same thing. Once they got in, there's an extra man over, and it's just slide the ball across, and Gaffney scores. I mean, Gaffney played really well against us. I thought in Oriel as well, and he's just a handful. You know, like he's really, really direct, really strong, really quick, and I think we probably played, when we played against him in Oriel the last time, I think it was probably him and Mandrew that were the two up top.
That way, you're right, yeah.
It might not have worked as well of having like two like incredibly direct runners, because Mandrew was probably trying to pick up loose balls and stuff rather than running. But they played those two up front on Thursday against Ferencváros, and I thought that was a mistake to play the two of them, because I put another midfielder in, try and get hold of the ball. But tonight it was the perfect thing for them tonight to have two of them up. But other than like they obviously created a couple of chances down towards the end, but there wasn't chances. Like they didn't create chances other than, and it sounds mental, other than the 3 goals.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to like into the second half. You know, you had Wardy's free kick that we mentioned earlier on the lead up to their third goal. You've Robbie Benson's one, which was another save. I think there was Wardy's one as well, and you know, the ball came back, fell, and McMillan nearly has another chance. McMillan had another one then later on. We probably had the majority of chances. We've had the majority of possession. We've had everything that you would want out of the game tonight, except the points, the result, the scoreline. All of this is completely gone against us. And look, at the end of the day, you can have whatever stats you want and everything will stack up. But, you know, you could play absolutely terrible and come out with all 3 points, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. And that's exactly what I think, you know, for Shamrock Rovers, is probably a fairly industrial performance without really killing themselves. They've got away with, you know, made the substitutes when they want. They've got no more injuries. It's perfect result really for them, clean sheet and everything, and going into next week's European match for them. But it's just heartbreak. Like we try. I think the Wardy one obviously is a forced one with McCourt, and you know, O'Kane, probably the second time O'Kane's now been in Tallaght Stadium and not had his best game again. Unfortunately for different reasons tonight. And you know, we'd Huga come on in the second half, and look, he looked all right, put a couple of decent balls in there, and one thing only probably missing a bit of sharpness about him is more what I'd say. But it's tough for these players coming in midway through a season as well. Like, you know, we've seen it with McCord, probably just not up to speed in time, and then that's exactly what done him tonight. And Huiga is probably it's a bit the same there as well. It's hard to get them to the tempo of that game when you're chasing the game as well. You know, it's not easy, and they're fairly deep behind defending. It's, you know, there's plenty for us to take out of this, and I think it says a lot. But you know, Dundalk fans giving them a team a round of applause tonight after a 3-0 defeat. It seems bizarre, but you know, actually, if you analyze the game tonight, it makes perfect sense. I think they probably executed a plan as well as they could have for Skip tonight, but you know, just whether you put that down to mistakes or, I suppose looking at some of the comments, it's probably, you know, a bit lack of game time for certain players in key positions that we had to bring in tonight. In another time, without suspensions and without injuries, you bleed these players in, don't know if you know what I mean, a little bit more, and they've got time to get into the squad. And, you know, McCourt's got, I always think back at the start of the season, you know, with Nathan Shepherd and getting to know his 2 centre backs and how long that took, you know, a good few games. And you mentioned the Derry match at the start, 2-2, and then there was the Bows match away then after another 2-2, and you're thinking, Jesus, we're going to have to score 2 in every match just to get a draw out of it. You know, it's going to be one of those seasons, but it's gone, you know, completely opposite since then. You know, we were really tight defensively, really assured at the back. Everybody knew their roles and stuff like that. And I suppose our wingers could probably concentrate more and going forward. We've seen Macari and you know, set up a fair few goals, and you know, we've seen Lee chip in with a few goals this year, to add that to his bow. But since that, now, you know, we're kind of thinking the opposite way, and now we've got completely different centre pack pairings all the time now in the past few games, and also trying to get used to that. We've started to concede 1 or 2 goals again. It's very unlike us. And then we lose, you know, I think, was it 2 weeks ago? I think Pingu had said, I'd love to know how many goals Patrick Cuban had some sort of an impact in, whether it's an assist or just a key pass and the lead to something, because he's been that sort of a player. We've seen him, these, you know, dragged out defenders. We've seen his goal, you know, against Shamrock Rovers in Oriel Park, where he completely pulled Lopez out, who then Lopez couldn't get back in on time, and Hoopin and stole in then. So we've you know, we've lost really influential players in really important positions. And I think tonight we've just, whatever, with the Bows match, we got away with it. There was chances, there was post hit, you know. Another day we said maybe the bounce in Daily Mount just went for us. It didn't happen tonight. Every bounce of the ball, every slip, everything went against us tonight, you know. And it's one of them, at, you know, just before 7 o'clock, I'm dreaming this could be 1 point in it. I know they have a game in hand, but you put that bit of pressure, European football, you know, we were building this up last week. It's now a 7-point gap. They still have it. We could be back to this 10-point gap that's always been there, and really. And you know, I don't want anyone to think that we don't understand where we are in this team. We're just going to take this in isolation, because I think it's important to talk about, you know, where we are in this project with Skip in a second as well, because that's a sense of realism around this result and about that performance tonight. But it's just probably just everything just came together in the perfect little storm tonight. And I think if you look back, and you know, Skip and his team will analyze all these goals tonight, and you'll just think it's a slip, it's a mistake, it's, you know, a goal disallowed when it shouldn't, and the free kick is taken. There's small little moments, and we just didn't win any of those moments tonight.
Yeah.
And when we look at the stats, Donald, you're going to see we probably won everything else out.
Yeah. And it's, look, you have to talk about the bigger picture and all that kind of stuff. But like you said, just analyzing that one game, like it's been for was that the 4th time we played them now? So it was 1-0 win each, a draw, and then tonight, like, I don't know if anybody's going to look at any of those games and think that they're like miles better than us. Like, there's nothing between those two teams tonight. Obviously, like you said, those couple of things went against us. We didn't have our strongest 11. They'll obviously say they didn't have theirs, but honestly, like, I thought going into tonight, it was a 50-50 of like whether we could win or whether we lose. Like, I don't think there's much between these teams at all. The one thing that they do have on their side that we don't have is that they're on the momentum kick. They're going through, like, winning a league title and a half. And like, they're used to this. Like, they're used to winning these games, and they're going out onto the pitch thinking this is our title, we own this. You know, like, just that mentality is hard to, like, we had it for forever. And when we play any of the big games in Oriel, you'd nearly guarantee that we were going to win, just because the mentality was going to get us over the line, that we just knew how to do it and we'd win. And they have that at the minute. And it's why they end up scoring loads of late goals and winning games that they shouldn't win and stuff. But in the grand scheme of things, like it reminds me of when we went to. I was the one that was saying about not talking about Stephen Kenny's first season, but when we went to play in Inchicore towards the end of that season, and we were all going up thinking, right, this is a miracle. We're going to beat Pats and we're going to win the league. And then when we lost, it felt like that was the end of the world. It felt like, it hurt like a son of a bitch for a little while. But then you're like, no, hold on. This is one season in.
Yeah.
That we, like all the noises from Oriel are like, it's next season. Next season's the one. Like this is like, all this stuff is a bonus. We get ourselves into Europe and then we build and we improve next season. And it's really important to remember that, as much as it's an absolute, it feels like a heartbreaking disaster tonight. The one thing I will say is, like, what is there, 10 games left?
I think it's 9 now, is it?
9, probably 9 games left.
Yeah.
Rovers would have been properly up for that tonight.
Yeah.
Like, Rovers would have been going into that thinking, this is the title. If we win tonight, that's it done. Now, I'm not saying we're going to catch them, but I wouldn't put a few dodgy results past them before the end of the season when they are actually playing in between 2 games. But look, we're saying that most of the season that it's not really a title race, and we could have made it one tonight. We could have put a little bit more pressure.
I think that's the thing. Yeah,
we're just not quite there yet.
Yeah. I think that's a point that I wouldn't mind having a quick chat about. But look, let's completely finish off the game. We said we would look at some of the stats, and this is just the stats that LOI TV put up for us. So we looked and we just thought they were interesting enough. Donald, what's your key call-outs that you see, I suppose, from this? For like, if you take everything on its face, with the key ones, I suppose, the total attempts, possession, we seem, and passing, we seem to be better all around the park than Shamrock Rovers. And you consider we're the away team, and like you say, we were flirting with relegation at one stage last year. So this is some turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, it's the passing to me, like having the attempts and stuff. I guess the team chasing the game towards the end that has possession, you'd expect like to just pepper the goal with shots. Like, so like the scoring attempts can be misleading from time to time, but the possession, meaning that we went to Tallaght missing 7 of our starting 11 and dominated the ball. Now, again, they don't want the ball. They're happy just punting it. But then we had the confidence and the ability to go up and dominate possession and create chances. It's like we've been saying the whole time, there's positives to take out of this. With our first choice back 4, things would have been different tonight, I think. But to look at the amount of passes, like you don't want to. I don't like being snobby about stuff like this, but right. Let me just. I need to phrase this properly. Would you be? Do you remember when Cork were winning the league, and it was just punting the ball upfield, and we just, when they came to Ori, we're like, they're absolutely shit, but they're winning games. And the Rovers are better than that Cork team was. But when you're at home and you've 187 passes, and you're, I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. It should be them that's dominating the game. They should be the team that are dominating possession. But look, it's just not how they play. So I'm more than happy to go to Tallaght and have nearly 3 times as many accurate passes as them. We just need the goals the next time.
I think that, and then if you think, our probably soon to be record goal scorer is missing, all-time record goal scorer at the club is missing as well. You would think, if Pat's there, is it a big difference? We'd like to think it would be. So there's all these factors, like you said, about the back line. There's also up the top then as well, and we're rejigging parts of the middle of the park around then as well of a machine that's worked so well, and how it has to be moved around to accompany players for tonight. And I think to really boss a game, not on the scoreline, I get that, but to boss a game in a lot of other places, it just says a lot about this team, and I think it's probably says a lot about Skip's philosophy and how he wants these teams to play, his team to play, and the players to express themselves. And I think you can probably see it in that is it naive that we, ended up, being caught out probably on somebody's possession or whatever else? You would say, yeah, well, they had less attempts to us, but they put 3 in the net, and that's all that matters. Absolutely. We're not naive to that at all. But I think on the basis still of kind of what you're talking about, we're way ahead of where we should be. And there is serious elements of Stephen Kenny's first season about this whole scenario right now. We're not saying we're going to go on that journey, but to put together a team that you really wouldn't have thought would be in any way of contending for a title, to go to Tallaght tonight with a potential to really put pressure on them in a title chase. That was on at some stage before tonight. That was definitely on. Should we be there in what Skip is doing? Possibly not. We were all looking for, if we could try to guarantee ourselves some sort of a European spot. We're probably thinking third, looking at what Derry had recruited this year. We're probably thinking, well, look, we're not there at that. Where Shamrock Rovers are, they've had European football, for the past few seasons. They've had big investment into the club. It's very easy. And you look at, you ask any Bows fan in particular, they've completely decimated top talent around. So they're top players that they've had. We've had it to a certain extent, but I feel we probably shot ourselves in the foot a little bit more for players that's gone and joined them as a result. So we're not there at the Shamrock Rovers thing, yet we were, if you know what I mean. Yeah. On paper tonight, before kickoff, we were there on merit. And that's saying a lot for this team and the performance. And I think taking away the goal scored tonight, I think you can really stand over that performance and say, well, that's probably why we're there. I think we've come up short twice, obviously in Head in the Game Park this year, and didn't play half as good as that. I think if we had have done something, we probably could have had, a draw or something in Head in the Game Park. If we had those sort of stats, I think we would have come up with something, but we didn't. So I think that it just shows part of this journey that we're on with Skip at the moment. And we like to think, okay, I know some of the loan signings, it's you could, we've all fallen in love with certain loan signings, and it's come back to bite us before. So let's not hope we're in that scenario. But you can see a hunger amongst some of the players. You can see an expression across the players, and you can see that Skip is happy for them to do that. That, like you just said, Cork went and won titles with, was it the most impressive football to watch? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And Galway fans would probably say the same right now as well. It's, right up to a short time ago, they weren't even in the title race there. They were pulling it back, possibly out of it again now, let's say. But, they weren't happy with the type of football they're playing as well. So I think there's a way to play football. And I think Skip is the right way to play football. If I'm going to lose a game, that's nearly how I want to lose a game, is sticking to the principles of that Skip has out there. And I think he'll probably stand over that a lot and say, he'll be baffled how he lost the game tonight. But can he take heart in a performance? And will this performance derail our season? I don't think so. Because I think they'll be back in training again. And look, you're doing the right things. And another day, you get something out of it. You didn't get it in Tallaght. Well, let's move on. Or, did we think we were going to be vying for a title? Not really. It happened to present itself. So do you go for it? Of course you do. You take those opportunities. No player... I'd be devastated if any player lines up at the start of the season, doesn't think they have a chance of winning the season. You win the title at the end of the season. That's the whole point of playing football, is to go and win something. So you have to do that. Do we now have to maybe take a little stock, see where we are this season after that result? Because we've got some big decisions have to be made around players and stuff. And we don't know the extent of full injuries. How long is Who been out? We don't know yet. Do we need to change the system? Like we tried some tweaks tonight. Did they work? Did they not work? That's up for Skip and his team to have a look at. But to be brave enough to go and play that, like we could have lost 3-0 tonight, shut up shop, been really low defensively and been peppered by them. And then everyone will be saying, oh, like Shamrock Rovers just got hammered in Europe. You just got hammered by Europe. What's the saying about League of Ireland, the standard here? It said, look, yeah, we got caught out. We got caught out 3 times tonight, but did we go for it? Absolutely. And that's the right way to play football. And I think to keep going on this journey with him, that's the right way to do it. And that's how the team needs to keep going.
Yeah. It's a good rant though. we've had very, very mean-spirited, horrible rants on this podcast in the past. At least that one's a rant about how good things are. That says a lot. I think one of the things that's going to annoy us, that's really, really, really going to annoy us now, is that the scoreline is going to say Shamrock Rovers 3 Dundalk 0.
Yeah.
And whether you've watched the game or not, when that's put up as first versus second, and it was 3-0.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look good, like without looking at the game, without analyzing the game. And it's gonna, like, I think we all have problems with the PR machine that comes out of Tallaght and works in the surrounding areas. And we're gonna have to listen to how they're head and shoulders above everybody else in the league. Yeah. They're about to qualify for a European competition group stage, and it'll be talked about like it's never been done before.
Yeah, but Europa League football twice isn't for everyone, don't it? So
yeah, I know. Look, sure, we wouldn't expect anyone else to get in there twice, but it's just, that's part of what's going to make this what made tonight so annoying and so upsetting, is that that's going to be the narrative now after it. Now we can talk about it amongst ourselves, and like, once Stevie gets the lads in to analyze the game, they will be able to look at it the way we've been looking at it. Like, there's very little between our best 11 and their best 11.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that the rest of us are just going to open Twitter tomorrow, and numpties like Stewie Byrne are going to say that Rovers have no competition in the league. And it's like, you might think that without watching the games, but that's absolutely not the case. And I think we should all use this as fuel for next season.
Yeah.
Knowing that, like, if they win the league, which, look, they're pretty much home and hosed at this stage, but if they go ahead and finish it off, they're going to be talking like they're the greatest League of Ireland team of all time. There will be stupid people writing stupid articles and being put in publications that should know better than posting absolute nonsense like that. But there will be people that will say stuff like that, and it's going to be up to us next season to prove that they're not what they think they are, and to build on what we've done this season. And I keep saying this, it's not just the stuff on the pitch, it's the stuff off the pitch, that everything's improved this year. And we just need to keep going. Like, we've gotten right onto the coattails of a team that's been together for whatever number of years, whatever amount of infrastructure is in place, being able to sell players for money and have like sell-on clauses, all that stuff. Like, they're set up to be miles better than everybody else, and they're not.
Yeah,
they will win the title. They will be in the Europa League Junior group stage. But when you look at that, look at our set of fans that went up as well. Like, there is something very, very, very special happening, and tonight is going to hurt like I don't know how many times I've said that now, but it's just like, look, they are not miles better than us. They are nowhere near being miles better than us. That we need a little bit of strengthening the squad. We need, I guess we need somebody to, like, we can't bubble wrap Pat Hogan the whole season, of course, but he has to be up there. And because we're never going to be able to get somebody in. I see Mark Yo saying about getting a centre back in. Like, that's like, we have to do that. We have to get a new centre back in. And it has to be probably number one priority when we're done at the end of the year, is getting the top quality centre back in. Even if it just means that we can move Sam Bone around and put him into midfield or right back or whatever, because we just need a really, really top quality centre back to replace the Judas that left. And
get back in.
But they just, like,
isn't this exactly what, in a blueprint that you would have loved to have this year, would be for Skip to put together a team that was relatively competitive in the league, get European qualification, and then we need to build a squad that can compete better next year, and also on a European level, we need to be able to do something as well. We need to get through a few rounds. I think if someone handed me that at the start, I'd be saying, if I had said, with 10 games to go, we were going to Tallaght Stadium with a really chance of closing up the gap there to a possible 1 point, I would say you're absolutely mad. Not a hope, and I'm not saying we're guaranteed European football either, because there's still plenty of twists to come in this, and but I think if that was the case, it's brilliant, because we can see where we're going, and I think Skip can then go back to the owners and saying, right, we either kick on and we become a better club, a better team with better recruitment and more players in that can help us when we get to a stage like this where we've had bad injuries. I think you probably look at some of the substitutes from Shamrock Rovers tonight, they were able to relatively contain and keep a formation and everything else with the players who was able to come in, because they've had the pick of whoever they wanted. Bar Derry this year has been able to throw out some silly money. Who else was able to do it over the past while? Nobody. So they've got, like I said, they're probably heading to 3 in a row title-wise, but first one's truncated season. Definitely.
Definitely. Call it what it is.
Yeah. So that one doesn't count. Right. So there's a lot. There's a lot still. I'm annoyed at the result. I'm not annoyed at our performance, and that's probably a real key thing. Donald, me and you come on and we say we're going to have a nice little short show. We're becking going on for 50 minutes here of just me and you. So on that note, I'm going to wrap up things quickly with the things that have to be done. Unfortunately, here comes the league table after the row of results tonight. So obviously Shamrock Rovers stay ahead at the moment on 58 points. Dundalk second, then on 49. We are a couple points ahead of Derry City in third, and then a decent gap back, I suppose, to Pats in fourth, then after on 42 points, and Sligo Rovers in fifth on 35 points. Considerable gap back there. I think Sligo Rovers, unfortunately, have hit their European hangover once again, and it's probably derailed them. And I know a lot of Sligo Rovers fans are not happy that what's the point of European football the past 2 seasons if you're nothing to back it up over and over again? And that's what you need to progress as a club. Behind that, Bows obviously decimated with players leaving over the past year or so, has probably caught up with them too. And then Shelbourne, after an amazing 1-1 draw, according to Damien Duff, in Dundalk at the weekend against Bows, drawed it with an actual amazing 1-1 draw against Derry. Behind that, who are, edging closer to safety, I suppose. And these two juggernauts at the bottom keep landing blows at each other. This time, Finn Harps are now into the playoff spot above it on 18 points, and then UCD bottom on 16 in the automatic relegation. It's crazy with those two. I seen somebody just comment there during the week that normally you've got a bottom team and they'll fall away. These two, neither of them want to really finish the bottom, and it makes for a very competitive league then, I suppose, which is good as well. Even if we don't have a massive title at the top, at least there's moves in the rest of the table then as well. I want to go through that quickly, Donald, just so it's done. Don't need to comment. We've talked where we are on that. So look, I suppose for our pizza tonight, I think Darmeen was in fairly early for, looking to get in probably Robbie McCourt's lack of game time. We kind of talked about that then as well. And the injuries and everything, bringing in only one centre back then was probably criminal. I think we'll put that in. He's one of the first ones to come in as well tonight. So perfect, Darren. You are a winner of our 15-inch Tony's Pizzeria pizza. Just give them a bell there and tell it it's on the Town End Pod, lads. That's that done. We're knocking these out fairly rapid for a Sunday night. I like it. One eye, I suppose, Donald, on the FAI Cup. We take a break from the league. This is, I suppose, it'll depend on what sort of a squad Skip has to deal with next week. But if we can get, like you would say, after more injuries tonight, the chance of rotation is fairly slim. He's going to have to take this as serious as he can, because any players that are now coming in, we need game time in legs for certain individuals, and it's also a chance of guaranteed European football. Let's not, we think of our history in this cup over the past few years has been relatively good as well. It's a chance for Skips to take this competition serious and really have a go at it, isn't it?
Yeah, and like that's the way it should be. Like even if we had nobody injured and we had lots of players that he rotate in, it has to be the strongest 11, because it's not going to be an easy game. Like, and we don't have the greatest away record this season, so you would imagine any game away from home is going to be tough. It's a cup game, like anything can happen. So like it should be the strongest 11 possible, regardless. But I think the problem is going to be that I don't even know if we're going to have the strongest 11.
Who's available for the strongest?
Yeah, who's going to be there? So that makes it a little bit more difficult. But look, it's got to be a priority at this stage. And then I just a shout out to our neighbours who have had excellent results this season against the top 3 teams. If they could come up with one more on Friday night,
that'd be nice.
I'm still not going to say anything good about them or.
Well, here's the thing: if Rovers were to stay in the cup, it's another headache for Bradley. Then again, how does he compete on a league front, a cup front, and then a European front? That's a lot.
Yeah, I just prefer to remove that headache. Just knock them out of the cup.
Yeah,
just get out.
Just done. Keep the Drogs in there. Drogs Dundalk for a final. That'd be excellent.
Oh, yeah. It would be. It would be excellent.
It's not in Headingley Game Park. That's what I'm thinking. It's going to go well, right?
Yeah. It'd be on a pitch bigger than the postage stamp, so it might be an even bite.
Something Kevin knows lots about, though. He's a postman. Look, Donald, as I said, I think we've filled more time than I thought we would have again, as per usual. The masters of fluffing out a show, or me and you, every time. I don't know how. Thanks, Donald, so much for putting on. Thanks to Tony's Pizzeria for the pizza for our winners tonight. Thanks to PlayerFit for the Gansies. Actually, we will get on and get the shop reopened there for as well, so you can pick up any of these things coming into the winter months as well. So the hoodie or something might be ideal, or the beanie hats. Also, thanks to Dundalk Village, to Donald Green there, Donald at Dundalk Village, for a main sponsor of the podcast, who makes all this possible. Thanks to all the lads who aren't here tonight, doing other things and not putting in this hard slog as myself and yourself. Donald, is there any way you want to end this one tonight?
Not really. Let's just pour another whiskey and on to the next one.